So for the second part of this lecture, we're going to talk about Maynard Smith and his contribution. So for evolutionary stable strategies, and now an evolutionary stable strategy, or an ESS, is some kind of biological behavioral strategy that allows things to be pretty consistent. So what stable means is that there is no outside forces that are really pushing these strategies in a different direction, or at least it's very hard to do that. So he looks at all four, possibilities really, where both parents desert and just leave the kids by themselves, females desert and the male does the care, the females care and the male deserts, and then of course the last one is both parent partners care. And I don't mean care as in, oh, I feel good for you, but I'm still leaving. I mean that they stay and they actually care for the children. Okay, so the both sexes desert, something like sea turtles do this. Neither male or female do anything if they stay around. They really can't help. And so the babies are left on their own. Basically, they hatch and they synchronous hatch, run for the ocean and hope for the best. And this would be kind of an R-selected strategy we talked about. The second one is females desert and the male actually takes care of the kids. And I will tell you that this one is rare. It's one of the more rare. Egg survival with uniparental care must exceed survival of uncared for eggs, multiplied by the number of matings that a non-caring male can achieve, or male will desert. So that's a mouthful. So what that's really saying is he has to think that his parental care is going to help him where his opportunities for breeding are limited. And so here's a couple of different examples. Randall's jaw mouth, which is the fish on the bottom, with a lot of eggs. It's a mouth brooder. So this male is actually limited to only one mating because his mouth is full. There's not much else he can do about it. And it's thought that this helps with aeration and protection of the eggs. The other one is the stickleback strategy. And the stickleback strategy is that males tend to nest. And so here you can see the little male, and he's actually fanning the eggs to give them oxygen. But by doing this, he can actually still have the ability to attract other females. That says mates, so females, yeah. So this does allow him to have a little bit more possibility, and actually we found in sticklebacks the fact that he is got a nice nest may even attract a female. And to take it why males, there are some ideas. We have these water bugs, and these water bugs are really, really large, and they will actually fish. But the problem they find, so somebody looked at it evolutionary wise, why would this make sense? Well, they go through these instars, these larval forms, and there's only 6 of them. That's kind of genetically programmed. And so they have to molt as they grow. They have an exoskeleton. And they can only do it 6 times. That's kind of programmed in them. And that growth, so they can get about half the time as big. So to get to that adult size, what they might have to end up doing is start large. So they need really, really large eggs. So the female is investing huge eggs. Well, it needs a parent to aerate them, which I mentioned, is to kind of push oxygen across them so they have enough oxygen for growth. The females, to lay that many large eggs, need a lot of food. So the male takes over that service. And it turns out the male, being a bit larger, has a better ability of aerating the eggs. And it turns out the females, again, also watch, and the males that are more nursing, are more caring, tend to attract more females. So there is also a selection pressure for it. All right, the third one is female cares and male deserts, and this is probably the more common. It's called the duck strategy, and really what they're thinking about is that the male is most likely able to um, find another mate. So you will see males and kind of hanging out with females and young, but you know they're just kind of looking for the next woman, and they will desert at a moment's notice. And then you also see it in insects, but this is here's some protection in an insect eggs. This is probably not your maybe typical picture, but these are earwigs. We have them around the house. They actually go after paper in your house, along with silverfish. But these guys like leaf litter, things like that. And what they think is the males, again, these females can breed with multiple males, and the male has to kind of look at that like, I don't know how many of the eggs are mine. Again, the female really does know how many are hers. So this again is your most common type of situation. And then the last one is both parents care. And it really comes down to the amount the kids need and what increases their fitness to be able to become successful. And because there's so many mouths to feed, it turns out the parents, both of them being there actually makes a huge difference on protection and the amount of food. So let's go and try to combine what we've been talking about. So last time we talked about, you know, sexual choices on partners, and then here we're talking about parental care. So it turns out true monogamy, especially lifetime monogamy, typically that's going to include both parents rearing the young. And even serial monogamy does that, but its climax is really in lifetime partnerships. All right, polygamy, multiple females, one male, several females, and again, the female usually provides the care because the male is having multiple females, even if he does help. What that means is if he has 3 or 4 females he's helping, obviously he's getting less and less care for each of that individual female's kids. Opossums do this, and you can see all the babies hanging on the back after they come out of the pouch. And this is a female scorpion with all the babies on her back, which is really the safest place to be because the stinger is right there. And then we have polyandry, which again is very rare. And this is where the female will take off and the male takes care of the young. This is Wilson's fallow rope. I think we showed you a redneck fallow rope. This group of birds tends to do this. And again, we believe that this is due to, it gives the female a better chance of having more babies. And they tend to be a bit bigger than the male and a bit more brightly colored. And then we have polygyandry. This is the free-for-all orgy. Either parent can take care of the young. They do see males, they do see females. Sometimes they see both. And this system, it just depends. An acorn woodpecker, again, this is our local bird that does this, well known for it. You will see, even when both parents are helping, they may not be doing the same thing. Food type separation, often adults will not eat what the children eat, and this is good because it reduces competition for food. You don't for the parents and the kids. So in this bird, the parents eat nectar, and the children, the babies, will eat arthropods. So when there's more nectar, it turns out the females tend to do more of the feeding, and the males are doing mobbing. Mobbing is something we haven't talked about yet, but mobbing is when there's a predator, they will harass it to get it to leave the area. As the nectar becomes less and less, you will see these Palestine sunbirds will then, the male will start doing more feeding because it's necessary. And then the starling. This is a European starling. They've been introduced here. it's not great. They're taking over our woodpeckers, but they are nest cavity parents. And what they found out is, it seems a little cruel, but they took the male and they put weight on the tails, and they actually did it for both male and females. And so what you found is when the bird had a weight, it couldn't fly as well, couldn't bring up as much food, and the partner would try to make up the difference. They would work harder to try to get the babies their own food. And even if one of the parents is superior, you will see that where the parent will try to step up and make up for the parent that's missing. Although what they do find is that the success rate of the fledglings, the one coming out of the nest, typically are not as good. And we will stop the share. And we will stop the recording.